trust me when I say this is the strategy that I have used time and time again to book out my services. You don't need a new offer. You don't need a huge following. You also don't need to dramatically slash all your prices. You just need to do these 5 things, and I'm going to be breaking it all down for you in today's episode of the Dishing Up Digital podcast. Welcome to the Dishing Up Digital podcast, where the dress code is sweatpants and the business model is freedom first. I'm your host, Ellen, and I quit my 9-to-5 job because it was sucking the soul out of me, and I figured out the Wi-Fi was better at home anyway. And now I am a proud 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. grind girly, building a business that feels good, pays well, and leaves room for a glass of midday rosé. Around here, we are not chasing the hustle. We're building freedom-first businesses that make an impact on the world without sacrificing our sanity. Whether you're a coach, creator, service provider, or CEO in the making, this podcast is your permission slip to do business your way. With strategy that slaps, mindset that moves, and the vibes that feel like a voice note from your biz bestie, this is Dishing Up Digital, baby. The wine is optional, but revenue isn't. Okay, listen up. The first tip is not to go jump on Instagram, not to run a flash sale and post it everywhere on your accounts. The number one place you should go to when you need a new client is your existing network. Selling to a client that's already worked with you is 10 times easier than selling to someone new. Now, often we avoid this pathway because we find it cringy, right? We don't want to go to friends. We don't want to go to people on a network, especially as a new entrepreneur. And this is exactly what I did as a new social media manager. One of my biggest mistakes was I was too shy to tell anyone about my business. And I definitely think I could have grown a lot quicker with my side hustle if I had been brave enough to tell friends and family. What I did instead was utilize Facebook groups and really started like networking and collaborating with people online. That was kind of my gateway into building my community. And I just want to remind you, it is not about begging in this situation. We're not begging for someone to work with us, but I do think people are surprised how powerful their personal network can be when they put themselves out there. Another example of this was a student of mine who did the Dishing Up Digital School, Mallory. Shout out Mallory if you're listening. And she came into the program last October and decided to book her first clients because she had no experience. She was going to lean heavily on her personal network. She made an Instagram account, she created a post about her services, and she asked everyone she knew to share that post to their stories. Within a matter of days, she had booked her first 3 clients and she had 2 more who were interested in her services. She is now working full-time as a social media manager and has built up an amazing client base literally just through referrals and utilizing social media with people sharing her work. When it comes to utilizing your personal network, I often refer to this as warm pitching as well. So instead of a cold pitch to a total stranger, we can send a warm email pitch. And this is an invitation to work with us, and we're inviting someone that we think would genuinely be a really good fit. And I think people don't utilize this enough because we get so caught up in the shiny excitement of posting on social media and the virality and the potential for lots of views. And we see all these people who are like, I make $10,000 just by like putting up one Instagram post. And you're like, well, why isn't that not me? And the truth is because that's the 1%. 99% of us have to put in the work. I feel like I talk about this a lot on the podcast and I won't go on a huge tangent about it. But warm pitching is just got a much higher success rate. And if you want to know more about just cold pitching, warm pitching, pitching in general, I actually have an entire YouTube video about this. So if you're watching this episode on YouTube, which by the way, we're now recording video for the Dishing Up Digital podcast every single week. So come on over to YouTube and say hello and leave a comment. But I'll also leave linked on YouTube that other video where I break down everything you need to know about cold pitching, what's going wrong with cold pitching in 2025, and how you can improve your pitching process. I know people have probably clicked on this podcast episode because they want some juicy hack. They want the hook for the Instagram reel that's going to make them go viral and have like a long list of clients knocking at their door. But although this tip isn't as juicy and exciting, I just want to tell you it works time and time again. It is your low-hanging fruit. It is your easiest entry point into booking a new client. The next step that I take, referrals. I'm really surprised the amount of online business owners and service providers that I coach when they come to me and they're like, Ellen, I need a new client stat. What should I do? I'll always say, go to your existing clients and ask for a referral. Again, this is such a low lift, easy option, but it works like a charm. And as I said, referrals are really powerful because what they're doing is creating a sense of trust with you before you even meet this potential client. If they have a friend, if they have another person in their network, be like, hey, Ellen's an amazing social media manager, or she's an amazing coach, you should sign up to work with her. That carries so much power. I had this happen recently. One of my social media management clients came through a referral, and it was honestly a business that I never thought would even need my services. And I was stoked to work with them. And it only came about because I was very proactive in terms of going out to my network, going out to my clients, my present clients and my past clients, asking for referrals. This can be as simple as sending a client an analytics report for the month and adding on to that email, hey, I currently have one spot open for my services. Do you have anyone in your network or potentially that you already collaborate with your business who might be interested in working with me, who you think could be a good fit? A great idea here is to also offer an incentive. My accountant, I noticed, actually started doing this recently, where if I refer her a new client or customer, she'll give me an incentive in terms of a discount off my services. Again, I do this with the Dishing Up Digital School. I pay students who bring in referrals a commission for the payment. So before you go rushing to Instagram to put up a sale, I want you to think a little bit out of the box around how you could create a promotion just for your existing customer base that would incentivize and create a movement or an influx of new inquiries. Now, while you're in touch with your existing clients, this brings me to the third step in this strategy, and that is building up your testimonials. There's going to be two different pathways here, depending if you're brand new or if you've worked with a couple of clients already in your industry. For me, for example, when I've had a contract end in the past, I have immediately gone to existing clients or even that client that's just ended the contract and asked for testimonials. I've gone to my Canva files, I've started working on case studies, and I've doubled down on making content that has social proof everywhere. A testimonial is not just proof that you can do a service right. It is leverage to get potential clients through the door. It is hugely powerful and one of the best client attraction tools out there. I've also seen this time and time again where I've had students in the Dishing Up Digital School who have had less than 1,000 followers on Instagram, but they're very consistent with showing up with case studies, with social proof, with showing how they've helped clients, and they will get new leads from their Instagram every single month, despite not having the huge follower count. Now, if you are brand new and you're kind of like, Ellen, this is great advice, but like, how do I even get a testimonial? This is where you may want to consider, you may want to weigh up the pros and cons, what offering a discount or working for free for a limited amount of time could do for your business. This is what I did in the early days for me. I literally had no social proof, no testimonials. I was starting my business from scratch, and I had 2 clients that I worked for 1 month for free for. In exchange, I said it from the get-go, I'll do this for free if you provide me a testimonial and I can use you as a case study in my portfolio. I was willing to do that because I knew it would pay off. I knew if I put in the effort, if I put in the time, the unpaid time to get those testimonials, it would all come back to me. And it did. That move is what I credit the success of my first month in business to. Hello, I hope you're enjoying this episode of the Dishing Up Digital podcast. I wanted to hop in, this is future Ellen editing this episode, and let you know about a very exciting event that I have coming up. It is a 3-day online virtual conference especially designed for beginner and aspiring social media managers, and it is going to be completely free. I ran this conference around 3 years ago now and was a huge hit, and I've decided to finally bring it back. We are going to be going over everything you need to know about booking your first clients, building your signature offers, creating systems and routines in your business, the right tools that are going to support you on this journey, as well as what we've already been touching on today's episode, booking clients. And if you are someone who's been really interested in the Dishing Up Digital School, there will be one fully paid scholarship for the Dishing Up Digital School exclusively available to attendees of the summit only. I'm going to leave a link down below in the show notes or the YouTube description if you're watching on YouTube, or you can jump on over to my Instagram and just comment summit on any of the posts, and that will send you the link to get signed up. Now, once we have started tapping into our personal network, once we have started asking for referrals, and we've started building up those crucial client case studies, this is when we can start posting on social media. So it's only when you get to step 4 of this strategy that I actually want you posting. Now, the beautiful thing is we can use all of these strategies at once to increase our chances of getting a client as fast as possible. So again, if I come back to one of my own previous scenarios where I'd actually decided to end a contract with a client because it was turned into a pretty toxic situation. There were a lot of blurred boundaries, and I was like, you know what? I'm going to walk away from this for my mental health, and I don't need this client as much as I thought I really did. And I basically gave myself a month to find a new high-ticket client. I started by going out to my existing network, so personal invites, personal messages and emails to people that I'd previously worked with, I'd been in masterminds with, any sort of group coaching program, I'd met at networking events, and I kind of blasted those private invites out. Then I went to my existing clients asking for referrals, or if perhaps they needed more work from me. And then I started building up testimonials and social proof to then take me through to posting on my Instagram page. And if you had looked at my Instagram during this period of time, you would have seen the consistency dial up a touch. I go through seasons on my Instagram. I've talked about this a lot on my YouTube channel and on my podcast, but I will have seasons where I'm very, very active on social media, and then I'll have seasons where like maybe I'm only posting on Instagram twice a week. If you are wanting to book a client fast, if you are wanting to get some cash through the door, I encourage you to start showing up every day. And even if like you have a referral who comes through your network, they're still probably going to look at your Instagram. So although they may not directly result, these posts, these pieces of content, they may not directly result in the client, they still work as a portfolio for your services and what you can offer. I literally wrote in my notes for this episode, step number 4 is to post so much that you annoy yourself. And this is what I really wanted to say to sum up the level of consistency we're talking about here, and to sum up how much you are advertising and selling your services. Because this is the other thing that I see quite a lot with my students and other online business owners is they say they're in a launch period, or they say they're really trying to book out their services. And then I go look at their content and there's no call to actions, or there's call to actions that are buried at the bottom of a caption, are very soft, which again, I'm not against those. There's a time and a place for those. But if we are trying to book clients now, I want you to be like in my face. I want you to be showing up every single day on stories, selling your services. And this can be uncomfortable for so many people. And perhaps even if you're not trying to book out your services at the moment, I kind of encourage you to kind of challenge yourself to do this and to give yourself a little like 1 week challenge where you show up and sell on Instagram every single day, because I'm at a point where I'm very comfortable with it. And I know I can weave together free value, whether that be educational content or fun, entertaining content. I can have that value and still weave in my selling. I think the old school idea of like having sales content and then value driven content is just not something that works in 2025. And especially in this situation when we're trying to book out our services as fast as possible. I still hear a few creators and coaches who say your content should be like 70% value and then 30% selling. And I just don't believe in that. I think you can weave selling into all of your content and your audience doesn't really notice that much. Like you can do it in a subtle way. I kind of refer to this technique as subtle selling. You'll see it all the time on my Instagram stories where I'll have like a personal story. I'll have like this little post about what I'm doing today, or behind the scenes filming a YouTube video. Maybe it's a tour of my office, or I'm tidying my house. I put up one this week actually that was me framing pictures and putting pictures up in my house and kind of showing some things that I bought for the home. Then I like to follow up these stories with something that is sales focused. So it's a screenshot of a testimonial. It's a breakdown of how to work with me, or why you should work with me, or why you're the right fit for this particular program or this particular mastermind. If you take away anything from this video, it is that I want you to be proud of the services that you're offering and putting yourself out there in every single way. I want you to annoy yourself, because trust me when I say your audience really won't notice. Like they will not, number one, they will not see every single thing that you post on Instagram, right? They might miss a couple of reels, they might miss stories, maybe they weren't even online that day. That is why it's so important to keep showing up consistently, right? I've told this story a couple of times on the podcast, but I have had many situations, and for about 3 years now, I've been uploading every single week onto the podcast. I took a little bit of a break recently. You guys probably noticed I did have a few DMs being like, Ellen, where the hell is the podcast episodes? Like, I need more. So if that was you, I really appreciate it. I took a bit of a break because I wanted to rejig how I was doing the podcast and kind of update things for 2025. And it took a little bit longer than I realized or I expected. But prior to that, I'd been uploading onto this podcast every single week for 3 years. And it would just floor me. The amount of people who would message when I'd do like a little post about the podcast and they'd be like, oh my gosh, Ellen, I had no idea you had a podcast. That's so cool. And I'd be like, Melissa, like, girl, you've been following me for months now and I'm uploading every single week. But it just shows you how you are the only person following your content that closely. Like, you are the only one who's watching and critiquing every single thing that you post. Your followers, they're not looking at you that harshly. So we need to take a little step back sometimes and understand what we're doing is actually okay. And we're allowed to show up and relentlessly promote ourselves and be proud of what we have to offer. I love coming back to that saying that I've seen floating around on Instagram quite a lot, that selling is serving. Like, we're service providers, we're coaches, we're social media managers, we're graphic designers, we're web designers. We have a service to sell and we can help a business owner. So by showing up and selling and telling the world what we have to offer, we are serving people. And I really like that analogy, that kind of like shift in your mind and repositioning of what selling is, because it doesn't have to be this icky, gross thing. It can be as simple as just putting an invitation out there, whether that is through social media, through content, or whether it's through personal invites to your network. So this brings me to step or tip number 5. And this is like the final dusting, the final sprinkle of flower petals on your cake. I feel like that's a very niche reference. Is it flower petals? Flower sprinkles. Flower sprinkles. It's a very niche reference to Meghan Markle and her cooking show, if anybody else has watched that on Netflix. But this is the finishing touch, the cherry on top. And that is add an irresistible yes factor. This doesn't necessarily need to be a crazy discount, but you want some kind of incentive as to why someone should sign up to work with you now. When we go through low periods in our business where we do need new clients, or perhaps someone's ended a contract, or we just feel like we're struggling to get people through the door, it can be tempting to want to burn down our entire business, right? You get that feeling of, oh my God, nothing's working. I don't know what to do. I want to burn it all down. I've got to start again, or I've got to build a new offer, right? Like, am I calling out any of my fellow entrepreneurs who have shiny object syndrome and think the thing that's going to solve their business is a brand new offer and they just want to like pivot and turn and change? I'm calling you out a little bit. Someone's got to do it. I'm sorry. You don't need a new offer. What you need to be doing is giving your potential clients, your audience, a reason to say yes now. I firmly believe that people will take as long as the time that you give them to sign up to work with you. I think my online courses and digital products are a perfect example of this. Like, I can mention my template bundle or my book till the cows come home. But if I incorporate some kind of time incentive, some kind of deadline, that is what inspires or encourages my audience to pull the trigger and actually buy and become a customer. I think everybody's immediate thinking here is to go to a discount. And yes, like, I do run some discounts. Like, it's a lot easier when it's a digital product and I'm not exactly like discounting my time that I'm spending. It's a digital product that's mostly passive and it's all set up. But I think this can apply to your one-on-one services as well as your digital products. But instead of going down the track of a discount, think of something else. Like, one-on-one services, perfect, easy example. You only have so much time in your calendar. So you may only have 1 or 2 spots available. Really push that in all of your content, and also any of your warm invites, your warm pitches. You want to say to people, I have 1 spot available. I have 2 spots available. I'm taking discovery calls now, and they're going to be filled by the end of the month. Is this you? Are you in? Are you out? Like, really tell people that they're going to miss out on this opportunity. I've had an interesting experience. This last month, I've been launching a new mastermind. I'm putting together a very cool group of women who are going to be working with me for 6 months to develop new revenue streams in their business and build a hybrid business model, which is expanding from their one-on-one services into courses and digital products and brand partnerships and all these exciting things. But one of the funny things about that is obviously I only have so many people I can enroll into this mastermind because of the one-on-one involvement and coaching that comes with it from me. That has been a really good incentive to get people to sign up. When I tell them there's only 4 spots available and I'm currently chatting to 4 people, or I'm currently chatting to 5 people, and if you want this spot, you've got to tell me because I can't hold it forever. The only place where I don't really think this works is when people are actually just low-key lying and they're like, I have 3 spots left, and it's an online course that's completely passive and doesn't take up any of their time. Therefore, having a limitation on number of spots is just a straight lie. So if that is you, please don't do that. Audience members are smart now. People have been buying digital products for a couple of years now, and they know these tricks, and it just looks really awkward when you see someone do it. I will occasionally do it for the Dishing Up Digital School if I'm doing one-on-one sessions as part of the promotion. So if you sign up this month for the Dishing Up Digital School, I'm giving away 5 one-on-one coaching spots. So the first 5 people that enroll are going to get a one-on-one session with me. So that is something where, yes, it is somewhat passive and it's a combination of a course and group coaching. Therefore, I have a larger limit on it. But if I'm adding an incentive like that, that is a genuine, there's only 5 places because I've only got space in my calendar to do 5 additional private coaching calls. And that kind of brings me very nicely to another incentive. Again, we can get so creative here. You can add in additional bonuses. Instead of taking away money and discounting your offer, why don't you just add in something that's a little bit extra, that's not going to take a huge amount of your time, but is going to add a really nice incentive for the potential client. So prime example there, running a promo for the Dishing Up Digital School. A couple of times a year, I will offer this bonus one-on-one coaching accelerator or a one-on-one coaching bonus package so they can come into the program and get additional private calls with me. Other things I've done for my social media management services, I've had, if people sign up for a 3-month package, usually my premium package over $2,000 a month on a 3-month retainer minimum, I will actually give them a free strategy session to kick off the services. And usually those strategy sessions I charge $900 for, but I throw it in sometimes for free as a little bit of an incentive when I know, okay, this person's going to be paying me $6,000. Look, I'm pretty happy with that. And again, this is going to come down to personal preference. If you're looking at your services and you're actually no, my free strategy session would involve 3 days or 4 days of my time. It's too time intensive for me to offer that as a free bonus. Think of something else. But just for me, that worked, and my client really liked that. Perhaps if you are a graphic designer and you're selling a template bundle service or an Instagram makeover service where you're creating a whole bunch of graphics for someone, maybe you could throw in 5 additional graphics for free. Again, when you zoom out, it's probably not going to take you that much extra time if you're already doing a package of 10 or 20 graphics for someone and you're oh, let me add in 5 bonus ones, and I can value that to the client at $500 or whatever it might be, but they're going to get that for free. And in reality, I'm already making these 20 graphics and I'm going to be in the flow. I'm going to have lots of ideas going, and then it's not actually going to be that much effort for me to add in a couple more for them, but the client is going to see it as a really cool bonus. I think this is just such a better option than going down the route of a discount, because I think that can kind of create room for potentially, a little bit of resentment with the client if they're not paying you your full rate. Maybe you're not going to feel as motivated to do the work because you're they're getting all of this stuff for free, or I'm not getting paid that much. So think about those bonuses that you could add into the mix. You'll find as a business owner, you're going to get inquiries from people who love your work, who really want to work with you. But a lot of people, I would say the vast majority of people, need the little bit of push. They can't make that decision. They can't take that plunge on their own. They need that little bit of extra incentive. And if there's something that's a bonus that is going to be expiring in a certain amount of time, sometimes that's enough to get them through the door. So that is my 5-step strategy. Thank you if you've made it to this end of this episode. I really just wanted to reinforce the power of putting yourself out there in as many different platforms and in many different ways and shapes and forms as possible, and what that impact can have on your business. It's also important to remind yourself sometimes as a business owner, you're not stuck, you're just not pulling on the right levers. So I hope this has given you a little bit of a guide to get out of a rut, to get working with more clients, If you enjoyed this episode and you're watching on YouTube, make sure you give it a thumbs up. And if you're listening on Apple or Spotify, please do leave a review. It helps me out a lot in terms of getting more people seeing these episodes. So thank you again for tuning in, and I'll catch you in next week's episode. Bye, guys.